Imagine the imperial armies of the 17th century Deccan, the forces of the Mughal Empire and the Bijapur Sultanate. These were massive, slow-moving columns of soldiers, heavily armored cavalry, and gigantic siege artillery that took weeks to drag across the plains. Compare that to their primary opposition. The early Marathas were lightly armed, highly mobile, and moved rapidly through dense forests and steep, rocky inclines. On paper, the math doesn't add up. How does a regional force, severely outmatched in manpower, weapons, and wealth, carve out and sustain an independent empire right under the nose of superpowers? They didn't win by trading cannon fire on an open battlefield. Instead of vying for territory in open fields, the Marathas focused on controlling specific points of geography, negating the advantage of the massive imperial armies. But before tactics comes motivation. The young Maratha leader, Shivaji, was heavily influenced by his mother, Jijabai. She instilled in him a strict code of ethics, emphasizing duty, fairness, and the welfare of the common people. This grew into the concept of Swaraja. This vision for sovereign self-rule prioritized the protection of agricultural land and the rights of the common person. Shivaji issued strict orders to his army to never mistreat subjects or destroy crops. Farmers were told their jackfruit and mango trees were to be cared for like children. This direct investment in the people's welfare meant the common people actively supported the military with intelligence and supplies, turning a regional conflict into a collective, persistent resistance that lasted for decades. To understand how they fought, look at this topographical map of the Deccan Plateau. The Western Ghats are defined by extreme elevation changes, dense forests, and narrow mountain passes. It is a natural barrier where heavy, conventional armies simply bog down. This terrain was perfect for guerrilla warfare. Instead of fighting large set-piece battles, Shivaji deployed small, rapid units. They relied on speed and surprise, striking quickly and vanishing back into the mountains before the enemy could organize a response. To hold this territory, they relied on a massive network of hill forts. These structures operated as a highly integrated system of supply lines, secure communications, and safe havens that dotted the mountain ridges. It is easy to look at a rapid retreat into a fort and see it as a military defeat. But for the Marathas, retreating was a calculated move. It drew larger forces into a hostile environment where their massive size became a severe liability. By mastering these tactics, the Marathas turned the geography of the Western Ghats into their most lethal offensive weapon. This localized expertise set the stage for two famous encounters. In 1659, the Bijapur general of Zal Khan marched to crush Shivaji. Using the thick forests of Pratapgarh, Shivaji drew Khan away from his massive army, forcing the heavily armed general into a vulnerable one-on-one meeting. Expecting a trap, Shivaji wore armor hidden under his clothes and concealed this specialized weapon, a metal wagnak, or tiger claw. When Khan attempted an ambush during their embrace, Shivaji neutralized the physical threat, turning an assassination attempt into a victory. 4 years later, a Mughal general named Shaista Khan occupied Pune. Shivaji didn't send an army to take the city back. He led a small, specialized group to infiltrate Khan's compound at Lal Mahal. It was a calculated, surgical urban night strike that caught the Mughal forces completely off guard. While the casualty counts in these encounters remained relatively low, the strikes shattered imperial morale. Shivaji proved that no commander, regardless of their army's size, was safe. But you cannot fight a kinetic war forever. In 1665, facing an overwhelming Mughal siege, Shivaji signed the Treaty of Purandar, surrendering several key forts. This move allowed Shivaji to preserve his core forces. By surrendering secondary positions, he traded land for time, waiting for the imperial momentum to stall. That treaty led to a visit to the Mughal court in Agra, but instead of negotiations, Shivaji was insulted and placed under house arrest behind the massive walls of the imperial capital. Even under heavy guard, he managed to engineer an escape. He began sending out large baskets of fruits and sweets for charity. This plan relied on a network of intelligence outside the palace and a deep understanding of the guards' daily patterns. Once the checks grew infrequent, Shivaji and his son hid inside the baskets and slipped out of the city. When you lack the numbers to win by brute force, diplomatic deception and navigating crises are exactly as critical as your maneuvers on the battlefield. All of these tactical and diplomatic maneuvers culminated in 1674 at Raigad. Here, Shivaji was formally crowned in an act of immense political symbolism. By claiming the title of Chhatrapati, he transitioned his movement from a regional insurgency into a formal monarchy. It forced the rival empires to legally recognize the Marathas as a sovereign state. So how do under-resourced forces successfully navigate strategic dilemmas against massive empires? They don't do it by fighting on the enemy's terms. It requires an ethical vision that earns the loyalty of the people, an absolute mastery of local geography, and asymmetric tactics that wear down the opponent over time. That is how the Marathas permanently broke imperial control in India.